After a tremendously long hiatus, 4-ish months, I'm back to review things. Star Wars Bloodline by Claudia Gray. If any of you have watched any of my videos, then you know that I am a huge fan of Claudia Gray. She wrote Lost Stars, which came out during that huge Fourth Friday, all of those books that came out with Aftermath and all the easier readers, and it kind of got lost in the shuffle initially, and then people started reading it, and it exploded because it is the best new canon novel. It tied everything to the universe that we knew, as well as expanded the universe both before and after of what we had seen. Well, Claudia Gray got to do another novel in the Star Wars. This one was much higher anticipated, put out a lot more. It was actually through a lot of the other stars with Del Rey, unlike Lost Stars, it was just kind of just pushed to the side in the Star Wars universe initially. And again, she gets a chance to really shine in this book. She gets to tell us a lot about Princess Leia and what is going on as she goes into the Force Awakens. Alright, I'm going to try to keep this review as spoiler-free as I can, because I feel like this book definitely deserves to be read and to experience all of the little surprises in it without being spoiled. That being said, there aren't a huge ton of secrets in this book. It's not like something like, oh, I'm going to learn all the secrets of the Force Awakens by reading this book. No, you're not. But you're going to get a very good idea of what the world leading into the Force Awakens is like, and that is the best thing Claudia Gray did in this novel. She was tasked with a hard thing, and that is dealing with politics. As we know, Star Wars and politics, there's an interesting balance that needs to be done, as people really did not like the politics in the prequels or how it was handled and felt it was boring. Personally, that's part of my favorite. That's what I really like about the prequels. I love the politics. It's not always presented right on screen. It's not always written well. It's not always done right. But it is the most interesting aspect, I feel, of that whole time frame, because we had a centralized political system and how they interact with it. I love the way the Clone Wars deals with that and better than even the prequels did. So having to reintroduce government kind of into the universe, because Force Awakens, as we know, was pretty light on any political ideas, with fairness, probably to avoid some of the political hate in the prequels. So we have the New Republic has finally taken down the Empire. This happens many years ago. They're, I think, 18-ish years from the fall of the Empire. So it's been a while. The New Republic has been established. There are now people even in the Senate that really didn't experience the Empire in any way, or were very, very young. And Leia is kind of that veteran senator who is basically just fed up. She is what is called a populist, and they basically believe that the planets can govern themselves with one centralized government kind of monitoring them, but not being controlling over a lot of their little individual decisions. Then there are the centrists, who believe in one centralized government like the Empire. They just kind of believe that, hey, the Empire had the right ideas but did the wrong thing. So you have those two ideas clashing with each other, and nothing's getting done at all in the Senate and in the Republic. Nothing's happening, and there's, just in a lot of ways, the line from the crawl text from episode 3, where evil is everywhere. You're starting to get that feeling that it's starting to come back. That there's just like nothing's getting done, nothing's being accomplished, and how weak the New Republic is built. There's a lot mentioned early on that if they had maybe a leader other than Mon Mothma early on, they probably would have seen a lot of these problems. But because Mon Mothma hid a lot of the problems of this government because of what type of leader she was able to kind of mask it with her leadership abilities. They didn't realize it, and the government was already, years in, and they didn't have a chance to change a lot of these things. And Leia is fed up with kind of the stalling stagnation of the government, and she's ready to quit. And I love kind of this back and forth we have of Leia's wanting to be involved and wanting to back away. And we get it through the centrist and the populist, both sides, because neither in this book are considered either the hero or the villain. Yeah, Leia is the hero and she is a populist. Yes, the First Order is kind of coming out of the centrists, but not all of them are evil. There's good on both sides and there's evil on both sides. And Claudia Gray does a great job of balancing that throughout the novel. The thing that makes this novel really great, I think, though, is the introduction of the new character, Ransom Casterfo. He is the pretty boy politician that has newly come in, and he is centrist. He is a fan of the Empire, although not a fan of Darth Vader, for reasons that of his family's past and things that have happened, which are very important throughout the book. But he is portrayed so well, because he's portrayed one way early on as this potentially, you're like, Leia storms into his office early on, and there's like stormtrooper helmets and Imperial relics and things like that laying around, and immediately she's freaking out, and you're portrayed, you're like, oh wow, this guy's going to be the villain. And as they move it along, and as he is more of the hero, and he really gets a chance to grow in this book, and it's just great writing that Claudia Gray does around his character in every way, and just builds him up, and gives him just such a satisfying story arc from beginning to end, that you kind of, when you reach the end, you're just like, oh. So there's a lot of really good stuff done through the character of Ransom Casterfo. She also brings in some interesting characters that I'm sure we're going to see more of going forward. Leia's assistant, who was also worked with Han Solo as a racer, Greer. She's a very interesting little character that kind of, is your regular rebel, someone who is, cautious of both sides, but is, bit on the edge, bit on the run a lot, comes up from a, tough planet background. We've seen this character before, but it's a very interesting character, and I'll be interested to see how she comes back in throughout the canon. And then the other character that's kind of interesting is the character Corsella. And the reason she's interesting, she's Leia's basically one of the assistants. She's 16, so she's just kind of like getting experience in job training in a lot of ways, a staffer on it. But she is the woman in The Force Awakens who is on Hosnian Prime when the First Order destroys it. So we've seen her death. So it's kind of cool to see, going back and seeing how kind of like she got her start and how she continued with Leia through all of this. And that was something that I liked a lot, even if it was such a minor character. But just saying, oh, that is that character in The Force Awakens, and now we know a little bit more about her. And you get a lot more from her in the Force Awakens novel than you do in the movie. She's got basically one shot in the movie. I believe she had some scenes cut out, but she has basically one shot in the movie. So it's just, it's interesting to get more from the characters. Then there's other characters. We get a brief little bit of Snap Wexley coming back, Aftermath and Force Awakens character. There's a pilot in this who is just kind of your cliched pilot. And then, we get your cliched kind of baddies. We have who takes basically the place of Jabba the Hutt when he's down, which was interesting, which was always something that Timothy Zahn wrote about in the Thrawn trilogy following Return of the Jedi, was what happens when after Jabba the Hutt was taken down in the crime syndicate, who took over. Well, we get kind of that idea in the government, and kind of who is the seedy underbelly of the galaxy right now, and we get that in Ren Riven Die, and kind of how his ties and where the money's coming from and what he's doing. And there's very interesting scenes between him and Leia, as kind of he actually idolizes Leia for killing Jabba the Hutt, who is kind of like the guy that his people absolutely abhorred. So there's a lot of interesting characters in this book, and I think the building of each of these characters and growing them up is done so well by Claudia Gray that the little tidbits of storytelling that maybe are a little off or felt not quite as great as, say, like Lost Stars, or didn't tie together the universe quite as well, are forgiven because they're such strong and good characters. And it is just great to see Leia running about and doing things, because, her not that Carrie Fisher's performance or that anything was bad in The Force Awakens, that's what you're going to expect from Leia, but it was great just to see what got her to that point. And I really, really did enjoy this book in a lot of ways. In the end, I really enjoyed Star Wars Bloodline. It's kind of a basic story, similar to Tarkin in the new canon. It's more about the characters, it's more about the world, it expands the universe, and Claudia Gray is such a good writer that despite some of the smaller things that I can nitpick or not really enjoy, she really can build an overarching novel that keeps me on the edge of my seat, despite me going, well, that was kind of bland, or that was kind of lame, because the characters are so well fleshed out. They're rich and interesting, and it's a beautiful universe. So check out Star Wars Bloodline. I would probably put it at like 4th or 5th in the new canon novels, but let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. And I am Shawn Redman, aka the cheesily named Darth Shawn, and may the Force be with you always.